The next point I'd like to bring up with you three, which I'm sure you three have had quite the experiences with, community interaction. Whether it's bringing inspiration to people, bringing popcorn to people, helping people with sets, working on renders, giving feedbacks. How has community interaction been so far between you and the community?
I hate Instagram. I hate it. It's the worst part of my job, like promoting my key sets. I much more prefer working on the key sets than promoting them. Zambumon is very good with promoting his key sets. If you look at his Instagram, okay, but at least you do. If you compare if you compare his and my Instagram accounts, like I make like 2, maybe 3 posts per project, while let's see.
Yeah, I like Instagram because I have less interaction with the community, basically. I'm not going to lie about this. Like, interest checks are hard. Like, if you do an interest check and you get people asking stuff and you respond to that stuff, and then the same person, like, you give them a final answer and you get the same question again and again and again, and you have to answer to that, then you burn out. Like, it's hard, and sometimes the opinions are, people are passionate and you are also passionate about your set. So that's why lately I'm just responding with yes or no to the questions. Because otherwise interest checks require a lot of time. If you do them properly, they tax you a lot, and it makes you hate the set. If like some community interactions makes you question a lot the set and whether it could even be doable or not sometimes. And I have had, like, my interest checks, I think they have been good, but some bad interaction could make them very, very hard, and they make you grumpy and they make you not want to do stuff and not interact with people because, yeah. I get people asking, okay, we can open melons if you want, but I have some people on my interest checks that always ask about a certain layout, and they know my answer about that layout. I'm not talking about ISO, but I get people asking about a certain layout. I have already, like, in every interest check, they will come and ask about that layout, and I will have to say no, and this is the reason. And if I just say no, people will think I'm an asshole because I'm not explaining why, and that's it. And it keeps responding and responding, and it is not a pleasant experience, I guess. That's my interactions with the community. Overall, like, you find nice people, but yeah, it's hard sometimes. I can talk about keysets and I can talk about keyboards because I'm the guy that likes fixed plates, and with fixed plates you get a lot of hate because people like to have split backspace on a 1-800 keyboard, and now that if you make a 1-800 keyboard without a split backspace, it's ruined, and they won't join the group by and oh, how you're ruining their lives. Not how they are ruining their life, but they get very passionate and they tell you, oh, this was the keyboard I was waiting for. This is a deal breaker. And yeah, and if you go to the discussion page of any group buy, like, if you're an outsider, you won't notice, but if you're the designer of the set, you will see how many people complain about stuff, very passionate, and the designer has to answer to that politely, and then they keep complaining, and you know it's hard sometimes, I guess, the community interaction. Sometimes, and other times, it's very pleasant, of course. Like Discord, I think, has make things easier because you get people to support your project, and they comment what they like and what they don't like, and you can chat with them faster, I would say.
Yeah. Overall, It's very pleasant to interact with this community. There are a few bad sheeps here and there, like known candidates that return to your ICs, and as Zambumon pointed out, like he has few followers that demand the same thing every time. But I mean, it's understandable. Like they just want a product that they like. That yeah, they want you to expand your product so they can buy it as well. It's reasonable or understandable in my opinion. But when you design the key set, you have to keep in mind that MOQs have to be hit. So sometimes you have to be the bad guy and say no. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's also another aspect. Like if it's for instance, imagine that you're now running Crimson Cadet. So if someone asks you, and you know the interest there is for Crimson Cadets, that there are 10 GMK sets running this month, and that there will be probably another 10 running next month, and you know that you can't offer some kits unless the minimum order quantity is super low, and even with that, it might not hit the minimum, the 50 MOQ that I really dislike, because it's very, very low MOQ and it makes the set very, very expensive. And you have to tell people, you know, if this set that sold 3,000 base kits combined, we can say, I don't know if it was Carbon, SA Carbon, or I don't know how many are listed for Oblivion, I don't know how many are listed for Laser. If this set that sold so many base kits has these kits struggling regardless of the kit, might, for instance, Kolemac and the Borak, which could be a good example and not regional based. This kit will also struggle with this set, which has a predicted MOQ on that I believe that will hit maybe it will hit 500 units, maybe, because there are other 10 sets running at the same time. And you have to tell people that no, I don't think we can offer it, and then they will ask, well, then add you should add it to the group buy, and if it doesn't hit MOQ, we will just cancel your order. And that's something that vendors don't really want to do, and that's something a designer really doesn't want to do, because you offer something just to get that something cancelled, and that's not a pleasant experience.
Definitely.
And you see that with Rob, you see that with vendors with multiple proxies. Like, if you offer something just to get cancelled, it is a huge bummer for the designer, for miscalculating the interest for the set, for the stores that are running the key set, because they have to do manual refunds. They have to reach the person and do manual refunds and ask them if they want to keep their order. It's also a bummer for the It's also a bummer for the customer, because they will say, "Oh, now it's a deal breaker for me. I'm not going to get this set." And you get PMs or angry PMs saying that, yeah, that they are unhappy with that they can't get the set now. So it's an unpleasant experience.
And also lately with PayPal's change of keeping the transaction fees on refunds, it puts vendors at a loss when they have to refund people's orders. So many people just say, oh yeah, like Zambumon said, just add it to the group buy. If it doesn't hit MOQ, then it doesn't hit MOQ. But there's so much more to it. Like the refund process, refund fees, and general impression of the group buy when stuff has to be cancelled and gets confusing. Did this get made or not? Or the vendor feeling he needs to buy out the set because even if he buys out these extra kits, he still makes the money on the base kits that sold with those special kits. And when you have like a ratio of 3 or 4% for Colvrac, which is I calculated on Oblivion, it was around 3 or 4% people buying the Colrec add-on, then you can already say for certain that when you expect 500, let's say GMK Sandstorm reaches 500 units at
No, I'm
3 or 4%.
expecting 250,
Yeah, but
even lower.
So you can already say that at that MOQ there will be 10 Colrec kits at most that would be ordered. So what's the point?
Yeah, that's definitely understandable. Real quick, speaking of
I have only seen.
Speaking real quick of unfortunate community interactions, Olivia, SA Olivia.
Hey.
Hey, want to talk about that?
Yeah. No one really reached out to me specifically about being disappointed in the way it was run. Aside from maybe 1 or 2 people. Originally it was supposed to be completely private, and then because the MOQ was 75, we planned the price around 75. We had, I think, a few slots open, and decided to open to public. Citing that naturally brought in more awareness, and limited slots. People will feel left out and be unhappy. And some people are like really happy, I think. They got to join the public lab and they did not have the chance to. And I think like this is just the natural state of the mood orders. People are always going to be upset if they can't get what they want. And you just have to try not to let the comments bother you. I know that like as a designer, like I read every single negative comment, and of course those like weigh a lot more heavily just because it's the state of things, but at the same time like lots of people are very happy with that, and I'm very happy I can bring some positivity to their lives.
It's good. It's a good way of looking at it, because yeah, there's quite a bit of a not too much, but some popcorn about the situation. My take is like it could have always just been private or canceled, and in which states no one wins in the public if either of those two things happened. So having some slots open is better than no slots open.
We did that for SA Nautilus. And
yes.
I think I don't know if Oblowski, but I think we got some complaints because Oblowski did the group buy he ran the group buy for Europe, and after people found out that it was made, because we kept it completely private, I saw some community members that were quite angry about the set. And which was a set that I made basically because Oblowski asked, and he's a friend, and it was just a fun thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I literally did SA Olivia because someone got on PTAX that they wanted to get it for their girlfriend, and they were about to commission like a one-off from SP, and then it was too expensive, and they wanted to run the cook by themselves. So I was like, wow, this person's like willing to go through all this effort. I might as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's definitely a more positive community interaction, at least this for the start of that. And speaking of positive community interactions, I always hope that is the majority of community interactions that, you know, you three as designers go through. What's it like usually? I'm sure most of your interactions are usually pretty positive. What's it like when people come to you for help? What's the number one people ask for help in terms of design when it comes to, hey, I'm working on this keycap set. You're a designer who's done things. Could you take a look and give me advice on X or Y or Z? What are those usual bits of advice people are trying to harness from your energy?
For me, it's render requests and general feedback. What do you think of the set? What kits should I offer? What vendors do you recommend? Who should I work with? That's general stuff. Yeah.
I used to get those bots, like the render requests. But Oblowski can tell you that whenever I get a render request, I just tell them to go with Oblowski. because I have a bad time rendering other sets. Most of the time, I think I really like to. I get involved in the sets a lot, and yeah, I can't deal with all of them. Some people ask for help, like, what do you think about this key set? About this, not this key set, about this colorway?
Yeah.
And I don't really like. I can't give them a good answer, and it feels bad to say it, but and it has happened when I said to one person, I gave them feedback like, "Hey, your alphas, the contrast is not very good, so they might be hard to read, and I don't like this font." And then I saw 2 days later that he had the interest check completely changed and said that he was going to change the alphas and the font, and I don't want that. I don't want to be like, just because I have made a set in the past, that they believe that my opinion is more important than their own. So basically, I have a hard time, or I don't really like giving my opinion on sets unless it's a really close friend. Like, yeah, like I don't want to give them colorway feedback, for instance, because I want people to do their own. I did my own with my sets. I think people can, if they like their set and if they think it's a good idea, they don't need any feedback regarding the colors, or they need very little feedback, and many times they come to you and you might not have the same tastes as someone else's. Like the designer has some tastes and I have another, and they might say that you have good eye, but good eye for what? Maybe it's that the person likes your sets and that's it.
Yeah,
and you don't have that good eye for that.
Yeah, people also often ask me, do you like this colorway? Would you buy this set? And it makes me also uncomfortable to answer, because I barely buy any sets. So when I tell them
barely,
I don't want to buy this, I wouldn't buy the set, then they might feel like their set is not worthy of pursuing an interest check for, just solely because I didn't like it, and that's what I'm afraid that people would react that way. So yeah, I try not to answer that question, or like to be more neutral, and instead of saying I like it, I try to answer, or like I try to estimate how successful it would be in the community, because just because I wouldn't buy it doesn't mean 250 other people wouldn't want to buy it. So yeah.
I used to have a long reply for people, not people for colorways, but people that ask about key sets. Yeah, it was a long copy pasta that I made after receiving 2 or 3 PMs after Chocolatier, and it was like the best feedback it was like the best feedback that I could give you is to do background checks. Go to 2014, go to 2015, and see the original, like the good interest checks, the ones that failed and the ones that went well, the group buys that failed and the group buys that went well. That's something that I did back then. I checked. I don't want to say that I check almost like, okay, I could say that I checked all the interest checks that there was for key sets back in 2016, but back in 2016 or back in 2015, sorry, that wasn't many interest checks. If you do that today, you would be crazy, because there are so many. But you can go and check the sets that you like, maybe 10 interest checks, and see how they structure the sets, how they present how they describe, whether they describe or not the kits, how do they describe them, which layouts do they cover, and how do they cover them. And you have to learn yourself about layouts. That's something that I can't teach you. You just have to go and learn more or less which 40% is out there and what layers do they have. Which is basically you just go Google images 40% keyboard layouts, and then you have a list of the layouts, and then you can do a spreadsheet saying, okay, to cover these keys, these keywords, I need these keys, and those other keys. That's not something that I can teach through PMs or DMs. That's something that I think people should come up with the intention to learn. Like, if you want to design a keyset, you have also to learn some things, and you have to, like, interest checks lately, they are quite good, I would say, but if, in my experience, you just have to probably just tease the set more than a finished interest check. Like, if you do the wrong thing, which is you present a finished set because you have done all the work behind the scenes, people won't have as much interest as if you start a conversation about the set. I guess, which kind of sucks if you have done all the stuff. And I don't want, like, I like to be honest with people, and I don't like to post like, I don't like to have a set finalized and post the kits locked as they are coming soon, and I will do an update in the future. Like, if I post a set, it has to be, and I post all the kits, it's because I have already spent time doing it. But yes, my advice for people that want to make a key set is go check interest checks, go check Reddit posts, and go check group buys, and try to understand how and which keycap covers which layout. And try to understand that sometimes the price is more important than the layout coverage.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to take keys, like the perfect base kit would be $300 and could cover
everything.
Yeah. Well, the perfect keys would be $5 or $0 and would have perfect layout coverage. That would be the ideal set. So you have to take compromises, and if you learn more or less which compromises we're taking for each set, because you can go with, it's easier to see those compromises with the smaller sets, not with big ones. The ones that you have a drop, they are okay if you want to do an essay set with drop. But like, you can't do 20 kits with other vendors. For instance, we have MT3 Serica. MT3 Serica has 20 kits. You can't do that with other vendors. So let's say you go with a GMK set, you can do, I don't know, how many kits were Oblivion? 12? 9?
12 or 13?
12, 13, yeah. You can do 13 kits with novel keys. Unless you want to kill Mike.
Poor Mike.
Yeah, and even in that case, well, he has to sort all of the kits and everything, but you have to take in mind to think about that. Maybe you have to make things simpler, and yeah, Oblivion is a good example to learn about how, well, the base kits are okay. It has too many, but they are okay.
I have the perfect amount. Base kit.
The perfect amount, yeah. Too many. But I guess that what you can take is that layout coverage from other previous sets and learn how it was done. I used to check the interest checks of, well, as a reference, I really like the SA Oblivion. Well, the SA Oblivion is quite good. The SA Carbon one. SA Carbon one, the original one, the one that was in 2014, 2015, I don't know. 15, and I also checked, yeah. I also, it was, yeah, maybe it was 2015.
It was.
And I also like to check failed group buys, because you learn more from failed group buys than from successful ones. So I'm calling about GMK NES or SA NES. I don't know if it's Super Nintendo or Nintendo. SA NES, I think, it was on drop. It failed, and it was blamed because of the month of the year, which was in January, I think. And they said that it wouldn't sell. We have GMK Retro. Retro failed miserably. Like, it was really bad how it was like it was Matteo trying to make an SA set or a DSA set with GMK basically, and that's something that, spoiler alert, doesn't work with GMK. GMK likes something like, at least something like a 10 killers kit, but
Full
ideally one
kit.
base kit. Yeah, a 10 killers kit works if you start at 500 MOQ. Otherwise, just do a full base kit with numpad and the extensions and the layout options. So GMK Retro also failed. GMK Underbite, I think the first time it failed because the price point was like 150 or so.
I don't recall. And there was
it was
kit,
expensive.
child kits.
Oh yeah. And there was also I don't know if it was DCS, but it was a DCS PBT Elemento. That was a group buy that people do not remember, that it was a Mito set that failed to reach MOQ. And it failed because some of the child deals were very big. Like the international kit was extremely big. And then we have, Oblowski had one set of his that was cancelled, which was the Metro one. Yeah. But maybe that's also, and if we think about it, maybe if it was run this year and with GMK, maybe it could have hit MOQ. I don't know.
I like how I'm gonna be able to cut this
difficult.
whole. I'm gonna be able to cut this whole section into a Zambumon gives good advice to people. It's gonna be like this 7-minute chunk.
It's not good. It's not good advice. I would say. Like, I get those PMs asking me for what do you think and how do I run a key set, and even Instagram DMs. Do not DM me on Instagram because Instagram is the worst platform for DMs.
Oh yeah.
And
my first
they
reply
asked
on
me.
DMs, the first reply on any DM from me is, contact me in Discord. Here's my Discord ID.
Yeah. It's really bad. Like I miss them. Like I can.
We lost Olivia.
If you're not following that person,
She's getting a laptop charger right now.
Oh, okay.
If you're not following that person, you almost ignore those messages because you don't see them. You don't get notified, and it's really bad. And yeah, do not DM designers on Instagram because it's the worst platform to do that. I think I have only responded on time once there. Otherwise, I usually do not respond there.
Fair enough.
But if you DM me on Discord, because I prefer that you post on my server and ask for help there. If you ask help, like my best advice is check the project page that I make, and because they are like an open book for how the designer did the set, especially for complex and big group buys. They are an open book to know how the designer was thinking and what that person was thinking, what layer support he wanted to provide, or in the case of Olivia, she wanted to provide, and using that as a reference to understand how to make your kit. And also, it's difficult to say this, but you have also to understand the trends and which layouts are popular and which ones are not working at the moment, especially with more niche keyboards, I could say.
Yeah.
I think like the most popular, like back in some years ago, the most popular was 60%, and 60% either if you go to custom group buys, it was HHKB 60%. Nowadays it's not 60%. I think last year was the tankless layout. This year or last year, more or less between last year and this year, we could say ergo keyboards with the Alice and the double B, which Oblowski doesn't like. Yeah, but like even layout support changes over the years, so it's You just have to understand what keyboards people buy at the moment. HHKB has been there always.
Yeah.
It's like a timeless, perfect layout for a 60%.
Would
And
agree.
Then we have, yeah. Like it can't get better than this. It can't get better than this. Can't get better. No, but yeah, it's hard to give advice, I would say.